another point on the relation to the sort of Aristotelian Thomistic tradition. The focus, he talks a bit about the focus on nature in that tradition, human nature, the intellect and the will, man as a rational animal. Now, do you feel like you have a good grasp on why he finds it important to talk about the person, sort of over and above nature?
I mean, what I would do is I would stress this quote here from Person and Act. I hope I didn't just lose it. I think I just lost it. My bookmark came out. Okay. Oh no, here it is. Okay. So page 116, he says, well, in another aspect, he talks about, as I said, what he says, the absolutization of an aspect. That's what modern philosophy did. They absolutized this one aspect. But then on 116, he says, this study originates from the need to wonder at the human being, a wonder that constitutes the very first cognitive impulse. This is the best of the Greek philosophical tradition, is that it starts from wonder. You experience something amazing and you wonder at it, and then you want to know about it and know the truth of it. And so this is Plato. This is Socrates. But Aristotle wondered at the human being, and he said, well, it seems that the nature of a human being is that he is a rational animal, because he observed, Aristotle's method is to look at the thing outside himself and to try to scientifically diagnose it and take a look at it, and to reduce it to all its properties. So one of the sort of tendencies of Aristotelism is to reduce everything to its principal parts and to identify the different aspects of it, sort of break it all down and dissect it. And one of the things is this phrase rational animal. But if the tendency of Aristotelianism can sometimes be reductionism, if you will, the tendency of Augustinian phenomenology is to maximize the maximum synthesis of the experiential truth, the experienced truth. And so it is very much avoiding all of any sort of reductionism. That's sort of the tendency, because this is Platonic. It's a Platonic method. Plato's always going to the universals, the universal justice that exists in the period of the forms. To that point that you're asking, so nature. So if you look at man's nature, you see that he's a rational animal. That's his nature, and every nature has a telos, which the end to which it tends. So all of this is true, but there's a danger that it can actually reduce an individual human person and reduce him to sort of this rational animal, so that every individual person is actually not something even greater than that. And I wanted to read this quote from this book that I highly recommend. It's called The Personalism of John Paul II. This is written by John F. Crosby, and it's just like 100-page introduction. I think it's one of the best, just really easy breakdowns of what is so great about John Paul II's philosophy.
Oh, great.
And he has a quote here from page 28. He says this. So this is quoting John Paul II. Okay, so this is John Paul II's words, and he says this: we speak of individual animals, looking upon them simply as single specimens of a particular animal species. And this definition suffices, but it is not enough to define man as an individual of the species Homo sapiens. And why not? Because each human being is more than just an instance of the human kind. We do not know a human being as a person if we know him only in terms of that which is common to all human beings. And one of the ways that we know this is by experience. Because if we're just sort of only using the method of sort of a scientific Aristotelian framework, well, we're just going to die. We're just going to say everybody's just a rational animal, because they are. If you just sit in a tower and look out at all the people, and you say, well, they're all rational animals, but you never actually experience another person. You never fall in love with someone. You never have a friendship. You're never going to come to the conclusion, well, maybe never, but you probably won't come to the conclusion that, no, it's not just that you're a rational animal. You are an individual, unique person who is totally unrepeatable and totally unique, and this amazing creation of God, just you only, even if nobody else existed. And so that experience of the person, drawing from that, is what really really is able to face these dangers of the 20th century that we had previously mentioned. Because if we just talk about rational and the animal, and we just sort of have this sort of, and in fairness here, St. Thomas has all sorts of other aspects. It's not, obviously man is created in the image of God. He's, he's the angel. He's related to the angels, but related to the animals. So there's a lot more to the St. Thomas and the Aristotelian system. But if we're just using the phrase rational animal, we need to. That's why the term person is so much better and more superior when talking about ethics and all these different things that are going on.
And he points out, it's in that he's not denying the traditional anthropology at all, but he's saying it is the nature, so to speak, of a rational animal to always be a person. And so within that, so it's not, so nature, he talks about nature as kind of what's determined, but the person, it's not that we have freedom to contradict our nature, but there is a sort of transcendent character to it, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's a really great breakdown that you just said, because yes, the nature of the rational animal is to be a person, so you can't change that. But then the person himself determines his self-fulfillment or not. And John Paul II says, you fulfill yourself through your freedom and through your act, your integrated act, which reveals your person. And you are self-fulfilled as a person if and only if your action conforms to the ethical norm.
Yeah.
If it does not conform to the ethical norm, you're actually destroying your own personhood.
Yeah. And certainly to your nature, but not just your nature as a rational creature, but to your nature specifically as a person.